before we get this video officially started. Do you see my eye? Do you see this? This is a Stye. I'm about to put makeup on. You shouldn't do that. I just had to have a knife put in my eyelid while I was awake. If this procedure is successful, then I won't have to have eye surgery. Hi, my name is Jessica and I have no idea what I'm doing. Today I'm going to be telling you the story of my Stye/Chalazion experience. I don't know how long ago I posted the video of the Too Faced Italian Spritz palette. That is when you would first see my Stye. At the time, let me tell you this whole ordeal because it has definitely been an ordeal. It is currently April 7th. The Stye started around March 6th, I believe. I've had Styes before, so I kind of knew what was happening so far. Like you can see the remnants here, right? So I had like a lump. It was tender, or I wouldn't even say it was a lump at that point, more like a bump than a lump. And, you know, tender, sore, a little red, itchy. And it was at first like not a big deal. So I did something dumb and I put makeup over it to go to work. And then when it was worse the next day, I said to myself, well, I know I'm not supposed to put makeup on it, but I feel really ugly and I'm going to work and I don't want like the kids and staff to be asking all these questions and, you know, think I'm contagious or think there's some kind of problem. So I kept putting makeup on it, on both eyes, for about a week. Here's where you guys come in and see me applying the Italian Spritz palette to the Stye because I was stubborn and I wanted to try out the palette and I wanted to show you the palette, and it looked ugly and I didn't want to look ugly. So I kept doing that. And then obviously the Stye was not going away and it had been like a week. And I've never had a Stye that lasted that long before, at least not without any improvement. But on the other hand, what was I doing to help it? Nothing really. You know, I was only probably making it worse because I kept putting makeup on it. So for the following week, I decided, okay, I'm not going to put anything on it. I know it looks awful, but I can't keep doing this because it's not going to get better. So I started warm compresses, which is a common Stye treatment, and I was free of makeup, and it still wasn't going away, and it was quite large and just looked different than other Styes that I had had. And then St. Patrick's Day came, and if I'm being honest, I put makeup on it then because it was St. Patrick's Day, and I wanted to wear green eyeshadow, and I wanted to not look ugly. And so I put some on, and then when I got home, I took it off. And but by then I said, no, something is not quite right here, and now I'm getting nervous. And then, of course, what I did was I went online and started looking at a whole bunch of things that definitely did not help me, but which eventually, though, would foreshadow what would become of the Stye, unfortunately. So I contacted my cousin, who's an eye doctor, and I was showing her the pictures and describing what was going on. And at that point, she said, no, it's a Stye. It's still a Stye. Let's try, you know, X, Y, and Z. So keep doing the compresses, and I bought this special little thing. I should show it to you. To do the compresses, you know, basically constant on and off, on and off, on and off. And she had prescribed for me like a little ointment to put on it that was supposed to help like shrink it and attack like the infection inside and whatnot. I was also using over-the-counter Stye drops that had helped me in the past. And over a couple of days, there was no change whatsoever. Even after all of this, you know, all of these things that I was doing now religiously, it wasn't helping. So there I am again, looking things up on the internet. making myself more and more nervous. And basically what I saw a few things. One thing is that it could progress into a Chalazion, which are harder to remove even though they're harmless. The other thing I saw was that it would have to be the Stye or the Chalazion, it would have to be either surgically removed or injected with like steroids or something like that. So for those of you who don't know, I am the type of person who I pass out at blood work. Like a simple blood test, I will be very, very upset. Kick, cry, scream, pass out. Ever since I was little, I've just been horribly phobic of medical procedures, things to do with blood, injury, pain, anything of that sort. So for someone like me to be reading these kinds of things, I was very afraid and unsure of how I would get through it if that's what it would come to. And of course, I had totally convinced myself that that's what it was going to come to. But I'm not as crazy as everyone thinks, because that's kind of where we ended up. So then I went to see a different kind of eye doctor. It's like the next step. There's like a lot of different names and they all do like slightly different things. And I was... a nervous wreck doesn't even begin to cover what I was. I've been using the term, you know, jovially, one nut short of a full nut case, but I was definitely past the full nut case. So I went in and he looked at it and I told him, oh, I left this part out of the story. Something else that I did, I had not cleaned my makeup brushes probably for about 2 months beforehand. So that was my original thought, like, oh, maybe that's where I got the Stye. I was also using, like, see, that's the problem. There's too many variables. I had also used a palette that was older. So maybe that did it. Maybe the brushes did it. And then once something did it, you know, keeping makeup on it for that extended, like, week was probably not good. These are things you definitely should not do. You shouldn't use old makeup. You should clean your brushes. You should not put makeup on Styes. That being said, though, the doctor thinks that I just got unlucky and that sometimes these things just happen. Sometimes Styes just happen. Sometimes Chalazions just happen. Sometimes Styes are big and nasty, like mine, and they progress into Chalazions, like mine, and they don't go away, like mine. Sometimes these things just happen. And this month I have just been really unlucky from one week to the next. So I tell him all the things that I've read online, and he tells me I don't want to hear what you... He's a really good guy. He's a good doctor. He knew how to handle all my fears and whatnot. He told me he didn't want to hear what I saw online, because that may not be the case for me, and you know, things get out of control very quickly. And he told me I had 3 options. First option was keep doing the compresses, leave it alone, and if I'm lucky, it'll go away. Being a math person, a realistic / pessimistic person, I said, what are my chances of it going away if I do that? And he said 25%. The next option was to get it lanced, which I'll go into that story next. And I said, what are my chances there? And he said he wouldn't know until he did it and saw like what was inside of the Stye. And then the third option was surgery, which out of the question, at least at the time. So unwillingly, but somewhat willingly, I decided to do the lancing. After I had asked a million questions about it, and the doctor answered all the questions about what would happen, what was the process like and everything. I still cannot believe that I let someone put a knife in my eye. My eyelid, not my eye, but my eyelid still. And not only that, but I was awake for the entire process. So let me explain this process. It was actually a very quick process. He told me the actual cutting would be about 3 seconds, and that was true. Honestly, the whole procedure was maybe 15 seconds. It really was very quick. Again, take this with a grain of salt because this is something you're hearing on the internet. And even though this is an actual experience, if something like this happens to you and you go get something done, it may not be like mine is, right? For various reasons, based on the condition that you have, based on how you tolerate different things, based on your doctor, etc. I can only tell you what happened to me. So the first thing he did is he took a Q-tip and he put a numbing agent on the Q-tip. And then he slid it underneath of my eyelid to the back of the stye and left it there for 30 to 60 seconds. He told me it would be like, it would feel like it's going to fall out, but it wasn't going to, and that's exactly what happened. It felt like it was going to fall out. It felt very weird, but it didn't fall out. Then he took the Q-tip out, and he had me put my face into this, almost like a little frame where I could rest my chin. One of the things I was worried about was, you're near my eye with a knife, and I'm scared as anything. If I move, what's gonna happen? And he had said to me, again, everyone's experiences are different, but what happened with me is he said to me, the only direction you can move from this frame thing that your face is in is backward, away from the knife. So he wasn't worried about it, or that worried about it. So from there, I was also afraid that I would see what was happening, because, I mean, for someone like me, that would be like a big problem. And I figured, well, it's my eye, so I can see this happening as it's happening. But that actually wasn't the case. He told me it wouldn't happen, and it didn't happen. He had me, like, I had this eye closed because I didn't want to see. And this one, I had it as closed as I could, and he told me to look downward. And then from there, when he did it, I don't know how it happened, but somehow I didn't see anything. No tools, no nothing. So he flipped my eyelid inside out. He took the little scalpel. I know it was a scalpel because my mother told me. She was in the room with me and she was watching. I couldn't watch. And he cut on the inside of the eyelid and drained, I don't even want to talk about it, it's so disgusting, but he drained out what he could. So we're talking essentially pus, blood, that kind of stuff. What he could not take out was scar tissue. So he did find scar tissue in it. And that's where you have a problem, because that kind of stuff typically needs surgery to remove it. So after this happened, like I said, the whole process was super, super quick. I really didn't feel like, you know when doctors say like, oh, you'll feel discomfort, not pain, but it's a lie and it's totally painful. This wasn't like that. I felt discomfort, but not pain. I did not feel like anyone was slicing me with a knife. Honestly, that part I didn't feel at all. What I felt was him flipping my eyelid and, like, I guess touching the stye, you know, putting pressure on it. And uncomfortable, I think, is the better word for it. Maybe like the dullest, slightest ache, but really not a big deal. I did not feel myself being sliced at all. So when that's done, I had to hold a tissue to my eye for a little bit, and there was blood, little bits of blood, but there was blood coming off on the tissue. I don't do that well, and I'll get to another part of that story later. So then I asked him, I said, now that you've done this and you've found pus, blood, scar tissue, what are my chances that this thing won't have to be surgically removed and that it's going to go all the way away? And he told me 75%. Some people say 75% is a very good percentage. I'm the type of person who wants to hear 100% all the time. I don't do well with uncertainty. And, you know, people think I'm crazy. Sometimes they're right. And like that I think the worst and jump to conclusions and stuff like that. But a lot of the times I'm right, I feel like, more than I'm not. I don't know, maybe I'm just like hypersensitive to some things. So I do the compresses on and off, on and off, on and off. And it really sucked because it's time consuming. It's not invasive. It's not uncomfortable. It's just time consuming, and there wasn't much I could do. So like my coping mechanisms, makeup, couldn't do that. Watching TV, I could do it with one eye, but it was uncomfortable for me to do so. Crocheting, can't do that. Reading, couldn't do that. The only things I could do was like, you know, talk to my family at the same time, or get an audiobook, listen to music, which are fine things. It's just, they're not my go-tos. I also couldn't do karate for a little bit, and when I could resume karate, I could only do like gentle karate. I couldn't go full force. So all of my coping mechanisms were gone while I did this. The other thing was I had to put in prednisone eye drops to try to bring the swelling down and shrink what was inside. The most painful part of the whole experience was the eye drops, believe it or not. Nobody told me how those were going to feel. I'm laughing because it's kind of funny now, but it certainly wasn't funny then. Any eye drop, you know, from my experience anyway, is going to sting a little bit, feel uncomfortable in your eye, that kind of thing. Especially if you just had like a procedure done. But wow. I gave up saying bad words for Lent. And that didn't work out too well the week that I got the procedure done, because a couple hours after the procedure, I started putting the eye drops in, and I had quite a few unholy things to say about it. It felt like, you know, when you get Purell in a deep cut on your hand or your finger, imagine that in your eye, tenfold. That's what that felt like. I was so worried about the actual lancing part, like the pain that would cause. The pain that I expected from the lancing, I would say I almost got that out of the eye drops. Another fun part of the eye drops for me, now keep in mind I do have a lot of stomach issues. I have IBS, I have lactose intolerance, gluten sensitivity, and other allergies that I don't understand. So I have a bad stomach. The eye drops, believe it or not, I could taste them because they go into the tear duct and down into your sinuses, your throat, and everything. Awful, tasted terrible. And they gave me diarrhea, stomach cramps, and nausea that I am still going through over a week post eye drops. So it's just really, it's been a really fun time. I think I'll pause here and give you some visual aids. So if you are squeamish, now is not the time to look. You should skip ahead maybe 30 seconds or so. I'm doing compresses at work when I'm on a break. And what happened was, nobody told me that the outside could and maybe should bleed. Like the bleeding from the incision from the inside stopped within a day or two. And it wasn't just like constantly pouring down like my face. It was more so maybe collecting in the tear duct or like down here just a little bit. It was definitely not a Naruto Sharingan kind of scene, even though I feel like after all this I should have a Sharingan. Pretty sucky that I don't. But, just dab with a tissue and it was pretty, all together. Oh, by the way, that reminds me, you're also supposed to massage the eyelid while you're doing these compresses, which that was another big problem for me because I really I didn't want to touch it. I didn't want to even look at it, acknowledge it for a lot of reasons. And it's supposed to be a gentle massage. I was basically pressing it, and that's when more blood was... I don't even want to talk about it. So anyway, I'm doing the compress at work on a break. I take the compress off of my eye. and there is blood on the compress. Not a lot, but like enough for me, again, who is terribly phobic of this kind of thing, to totally panic, and especially because I didn't know that it could and should be bleeding. So, long story short, I like half passed out at work. I'm lucky I have such great staff and everything. It's funny now. It wasn't funny then. But yeah, so no more compresses at work. I have to do the all at home because we can't run the risk of that, even though I don't think that's going to happen anymore. Because so here you see, this is what I am left with. So let's talk about that. I went in for a follow-up this week, and unfortunately I did not get the news that I wanted. I was in the unlucky 25%, and my choices are, at this point, that it might get better, either all the way or to a degree over the next 10 weeks, with continued compresses and ointment. If it does not, or if it only gets better but not all the way gone, it's going to require surgery to remove it, which I just really can't see that happening. I can't see me getting through it. So the good news is that I don't have to do anything about it. I could just live like this for the rest of my life, because it's not harmful to me at this point. It's turned into a Chalazion, which is basically like a hardened, inflamed cyst. The compresses, the continued compresses, the continued massage, the continued ointment might help. It might not. And I asked the doctor what my chances are at this point of it completely going away. And he said he really doesn't know at this point. So I know that in the big scheme of things, this is not a big deal. But like I said, for someone like me who has all these medical phobias, it's been a very big deal. And like right now, you can't tell too much. And I feel like definitely the video and photos don't do it justice like how it is in person. But I mean, it's essentially a red bump on my eye that might be with me for the rest of my life, or at the very least the next 10 weeks. So I'm not too happy. It's been really hard to deal with. And like all of my coping mechanisms have basically been gone. It's been hard to get my work for work done because I had recently assigned an essay to my students. So that was 42 essays I had to read and grade. Obviously, if I had known this was going to happen, I wouldn't have done that. So it took me quite a while to get through those in between working and, the compresses. Karate was, taken away for a little bit. It's been hard. And then even yesterday when I put makeup on for the first time, because the doctor did say at this point that I can put makeup on it again. And I'm hoping that will help, with a little bit of coping and, the self-esteem issue that's been going on with it, because I really just feel, I'm being totally transparent, I just feel so ugly. Even though people are telling me like it's not as big as I think it is, it's not as prominent as I think it is, it's not as red as I think it is, but I see it there, and I know it's not my face. My eye is supposed to look like this one. And like not having been able to wear makeup on it for so long and just living like this, so vulnerable and exposed, I didn't know I was so vain, But yeah, wearing makeup for the first time yesterday in 3 weeks. First of all, I don't think I've gone 3 weeks without makeup since I was like 14, and I just turned 28 yesterday. So it's pretty significant for me. But But even to put the makeup on, like, you'll see when I post that video if I haven't already. I'm really nervous about putting it over here. I know this is like somewhat ridiculous, but I'm actually shaking that I have this on my eye. This has been such an ordeal. Part of me was excited and eager to put it on again, and then the other part was just so terrified to put it on because I don't want anything like this to happen ever again. This has all just been really scary and, you know, somewhat physically painful, and I've just had so much anxiety and I've been so nervous about all of it, and it hasn't been very fun. So this past month has been pretty awful. So what do I want you to take away from all of this? Because we're still on standby, really, to figure out what's going to happen with me next. If I'm lucky, 10 weeks. If I'm not, the rest of my life or surgery. Whatever you believe in, you know, if you pray, if you send good vibes, anything, please, I will take it. I'd really appreciate it. I guess what I want to say is, again, not that the doctor doesn't seem to think that the dirty brushes or the old makeup or wearing the makeup on top of it did this. He really just thinks in my particular case that it just happened and I got unlucky and just kept getting unlucky. But that being said, clean your brushes. Make sure you clean those brushes at the very least every 2 weeks. Every week is better. Make sure you take your makeup off before you go to bed. If you have a stye or some kind of issue, don't put makeup on it. Throw out makeup that is old. You know, I could say that I've done these things a million times before, and I've even had other styes, and this just didn't happen in the same fashion, or nothing happened to me at all. So it's hard to, you know, it's hard to judge, and it's hard to, at least for me right now, to just come back to my normal life or my new normal, because I'm still doing, you know, treatments right now that are time consuming. And like even now I'm trying to, I mean, I spent an hour and a half the other day just scrubbing and washing and cleaning things because I'm nervous. You know, I cleaned my brushes, I cleaned, you know, my makeup. I think I threw a couple things out, or did I not go through everything? Yeah, I feel like I threw a couple things out. But I need to do like a whole, or maybe I don't. See, here's the thing. It's like I feel like I need to do like a whole declutter, a whole clean everything, a whole replace everything. Everything I've been doing, I feel like I don't know what to do because things were fine. And then like I almost placed a couple orders to like replace some things, but I don't even know if I want to do that. Am I ready for that yet? Because part of me is still nervous about wearing makeup. Today I didn't put any on, like I wanted to, but like I also kind of didn't want to because yesterday was my first day and I was like, maybe I should let it breathe today, even though the doctor said it was fine. And then I go on Google and it says, you know, don't put makeup on it. And I'm like, but Jessica, the doctor told you that you could. Your doctor, who knows your situation, told you could put it on and it wouldn't be a problem. You could see, you know, if I stay here, I'll ramble forever and you'll just see more and more anxiety. This has just been really, really difficult for me. But yeah, I don't know if I want to replace a bunch of things yet, because am I going to use them? And do I really need to replace some things? I mean, at least powders, you know, like eyeshadow powders and blush powders and whatever can be cleaned. And I bought, you know, by the help of my cousin, I bought actually this here. What is it? It's isopropyl alcohol. But there's a certain one you have to get. You can get this one to clean makeup, because there's certain ones that not that they don't work, but like they're harmful in certain uses. This one's okay. I know this one you can put on your makeup. So I'm using that. I'm cleaning the brushes. I have the compress thing. I have the ointment. My cousin also helped me get some spray for my eyes, almost like an eyelid cleanser type of thing. But like say for example, all my ColourPop like creme gel liners, I haven't even used any of them recently, so like they're definitely not infected or anything from the Stye, which some Styes don't even work that way. Like mine probably doesn't, like reinfect yourself or infect the other eye, like that kind of thing. But I'm just so nervous. I don't know, should I just get rid of all of them and replace them? I mean, otherwise, if this didn't happen, I'd still be using them. Maybe I shouldn't be. Maybe I should be. I mean, my glitter eyeliner, I just don't see myself wearing glitter, like, on this. At least not for a few months. I don't see how that would be a good idea. Just some regular powder and, you know, mascara. I mean, I threw out, or no, I didn't throw them out yet. I put them to the side, because maybe I will film a declutter, a Stye declutter. I got new mascaras. I got new eyeshadow primer. You know, things that you can't clean. So like these eyeliners, I would say you can't clean. The mascaras, it was probably time for new ones anyway. The eyeshadow primer. These, I don't know. I mean, I was thinking about getting new brushes instead of just cleaning them. I'm all over the place right now until I'm calm again after this whole ordeal, which I'm not a calm person if you know me in real life. But I'm hoping that over time, you know, as with anything else, that I will get calmer about it and I will go back to normal, or maybe a normal with just a little bit more caution and awareness, but not to the same degree of heightened anxiety and worry about it and, you know, nervousness that I am right now. So please pray for me or send me good wishes. Keep all your stuff clean. Get doctor's help if you need help. And that's it for today. I hope you have a good day no matter what it is you're doing. Bye. See you next time.